Hi everyone, welcome to our October 2024 Town Hall. We had the first session this morning, and I was saying how time's flown by because the last one we did was actually July, 3 months ago. We've had a very busy summer since then, but looking forward to showing off what we've been up to and chatting to you guys about what you've been up to. So yeah, first let's have a look at the agenda. We've got a couple of cool AI tools to show you that you might have seen in our sort of beta testing site that we've had. And then an integrations tool, so hooking up to different platforms, which is a revamp of the automations feature, so automations v2 essentially. Show you a demo of that. And then we'll look at the new docs. So the new docs have gone live. And have a quick update on Site Builder, some of the changes we've been making. We've been releasing quite a few updates, and talk about where that's going, and then open floor for you guys to ask any questions. So first up, we just wanted to have a little look at the roadmap again. So we showed this exact roadmap back in July, and we've had to sort of really focus on some underlying updates and improvements that are twofold, really. One, the platform, the admin itself, so making some updates there that pave the way for a lot of these updates, so custom fields, the admin panel, those kind of ones. And then we've also completely rebuilt the API. So the API was running off our main API, which the whole product runs off, and that was a bit too much going through one sort of channel. So what we've done is completely rebuilt the API to run per site. So you've now got it literally running off the site, and that means that you've got control to take it quite a bit further. So you can actually customize the API and add to it and improve it, and it just has lots of benefits. And then we've also then built things off the back of that. So our new sort of updated Zapier integration is running off the site API, more on that soon. And the new integrations feature that I'll demo for you is all running off the site API as well. So it's a really important kind of infrastructure update that we've been doing the last few months, and it paves the way for everything else that's going to come. But yes, basically for the next few months, rest of the year, we're back to items 1 to 5 essentially, which if you've joined us for most of the calls, you're watching the recording, these were the things that came up from basically the start of the year. We really sort of went through with you guys what the most important things are and to focus on. We shipped quite a few of those back in Q1 and Q2, and these are the remaining ones that we want to focus on and get done for you. So yeah, any questions on roadmap at all? Can always come back to it at the end as well. So yeah, great. I thought I'd start there because obviously the things I'm about to show you don't directly relate to what we showed back in July, but they basically all sit under number 6, and it was just such a big piece that we had to get done. So yeah, let's go have a look. I'll actually just fly through these slides quickly, just so that anybody who wants to watch the recording can get a summary, and then we'll dive into some of the demos in a little bit more detail. We've essentially, if you've not seen anything about it, then we've got a new AI tool as part of the rich text editor. So again, as one of the big updates to the admin, we actually were able to update and upgrade certain features. So one of those is the rich text editor. You can write some content and ask ChatGPT effectively to improve it, simplify it, fix mistakes, make it shorter, make it more detailed, complete the sentence, change the tone, or translate. So hopefully some really useful features, especially for end customers who maybe are writing a blog post or something like that, can speed up their workflow. I'll show that off and get any feedback shortly. The big one, based on the API, is the automations v2 feature. So we've got a whole new UI for managing automations, hopefully quite a bit nicer to use. And then we've got this new integrations feature where effectively you can hook up to, I don't actually know the number, but it's 20 or 30 different tools in a Zapier-like way. And obviously, if one of the tools you need isn't there, you can put it on the roadmap. I'll show you, we've got a new area on the roadmap for integrations and request for those to be added. If it's a pretty mainstream one, then shouldn't be a problem getting that added. If it's bespoke, we can look at kind of doing that with you. And yeah, so I'll do a demo of that shortly, but that saves a lot of time if you were going to build them manually using the API. And then next up is the new docs. It's been quite a lot of work trying to get all of our old docs consolidated into one place. Hopefully you're finding it useful in terms of the navigation. We'll have a look at it in a little bit more detail. And got the AI search in there as well that we looked at before. And then on Site Builder, if you're using Site Builder, you've probably noticed in Discord there's been sort of probably weekly releases and updates. We've been really flying through the e-commerce layouts that Flowbyte have really, they've done a great job releasing those this year. So we've been working on category layouts, just general big improvements to the layouts available, and a couple of extra features as well. I'll talk about those more. Lastly, because it's industry news, we don't often talk about the industry, what's going on, but you might be aware of the sort of ongoing discussion about WordPress at the moment. It's more just something to be curious of and aware of. It really doesn't really affect, well, it doesn't affect us at all. But if you're not aware, there's a bit of a battle going on at the moment because WordPress, the open source organization, let's say, have banned WP Engine, one of the biggest sort of hosting services on top, from using it, which meant that a lot of websites broke and people couldn't update their plugins and themes. You guys might know more about that than I do. I just thought it might be a good talking point later on. So we'll maybe have a quick chat about that. The relevance is
I haven't heard.
No, it's weird.
No.
It's been
I
everywhere
love to
and
bash
nowhere.
WordPress. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
If you've seen certain articles, or like on LinkedIn, it's been crazy, but then it hasn't quite hit mainstream yet, because I guess it's a bit boring. But yeah, we do have a WordPress import sort of migration tool that if you have any people come to you because they're struggling with their site, let us know and we can try and help import it. We discussed in the call this morning that like migration tools it's never the perfect solution. A rebuild is always better, but if somebody's really stuck, or you don't have the budget, or you just really want to win them across, then it's a great way to do it. We can bring across the design, the structure, the data, and well, we can bring it all across separately, effectively, so you can pick and choose what you want, rather than have, maybe you don't want all of the front end code, you just want some of the structure and the data, which is a bit hard to get hold of generally from WordPress. So again,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be on the lookout for, WordPress customers that need to get with a better program.
I'm sure they'll work it all out to some extent. I think some of it will probably blow over in terms of the impact, but I think from what I've read, a lot of people who bought into the kind of open source concept, because that is really, it's open source or proprietary, are kind of feeling now that it's not actually open source, because effectively there's one man sort of in control of everything, which is starting to feel a bit uneasy. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I just thought it might be an interesting topic.
Yeah.
And then lastly, yeah, over to you guys, really. We'll have a chat about anything that's come up in the last few months, any questions, any ideas, and take it from there. So let's jump into a couple of quick demos, I think. So the first one I'd like to show off is the AI tools, and then that'll follow nicely into the actual automation tools. So here's one from this morning's session. I went into a blog post. It can be on anything that has a rich text editor. So it might be in one of your web apps. It might be in one of our existing modules. I'm trying to think where else it might be, products, that kind of stuff. If you've got a field, a multi-line text field with rich text editor turned on, you'll see that we've updated the editor a little bit, including this button here for AI tools. So you need to type something, but you might say, write an article. Well, you don't even need to do that, actually. You could just start typing about something. So let's talk about, might be a bit risky, but WordPress and open source. Let's give that a try.
Yes.
So I could sort of say complete sentence, and that'll probably give us something short. And then if I want to, I could say, let's write a whole article on that. It's ChatGPT, so it's nothing new in terms of the ChatGPT world, but it's obviously nice having it baked into the product. It's using one of the
That's
more
cool.
basic. Yeah, it's quite useful, I think. And then let's say if you're working on multilingual, it might be handy just to be able to translate those as well. So let's quickly convert that into French. Doesn't do the formatting, I've just noticed on those ones. So there's a couple of things it probably won't do perfectly in terms of the content that you've got. Oh, it is doing the formatting. I'll take it back. But yeah, it's handy. It's using one of the more basic.
Oh, I see Merd. Look, Merd all over the place for work. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. My French isn't good, but I know that one. So yeah, it's using one of the more basic models, but what we want to do is hook it up so that you guys can use your own OpenAI account and choose how to use it, whether you sort of get your customers put their own in there. We're probably just going to have a service that just runs off the same sort of pricing, similar pricing, and just counts as a usage metric. But we don't really want to make anything on that massively, but we'll let you put your own keys in there instead, just so that it's totally flexible, effectively. Any questions on the tool, or on the AI features?
It's largely just with the text, right? Any kind of,
Good
you said
question.
any kind of text.
I don't know whether you're asking whether it can do images, but it does have image generation. We just haven't
That's
done that bit yet.
yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll have a button to generate an image. The question will be whether it should save it to File Manager or not, and maybe both options, I guess. But yeah, it's a feature we can add in. We just haven't quite got that far.
Yeah.
I would
I think
think file manager makes sense, or being able to specify
Yeah.
the directory that we want it in,
Yeah.
would make sense there. And then obviously the other caveat that I'm thinking of is resolution and dimensions, right? And then maybe even the file format. Would it be WebP or would it be JPEG or would it be PNG? Like those kinds of things.
Good questions. I think the AI tool will just generate. That's a good question. I don't know. It might generate an image and then we decide how to save it. But proportions and stuff, I think you'd have a bit of control over that in terms of the layout and maybe the HTML
Like when
settings.
I'm
But yeah,
asking for that image generation, add in, 300 by 250 pixels at 144 DPI or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I'll have a look at how
Whatever.
that
Yeah.
works. And yeah, it's a good point. But yeah, so I'll just quickly save this just to show it working. If we then view at the front end, that's just dropped that into this Flowbite layout. But yeah, you've got it all working. Now the reason I've saved it is any updates. We've just made an update to this item, and I'll quickly just now go and show across the other new feature, which is the integrations tool. So what we've done, what I did earlier or yesterday, was set up an integration in this new area. So automations, it's been there a long time. For those of you that don't know it, it's just a really powerful way to work with data within the platform. You'll find it within modules, within web apps, within forms, within products, lots of different places. But until now, all you could really do with it was create things like workflow emails, autoresponders, create like a new API call where if an item was updated, you could fire something to somewhere else, but you kind of had to write all of this yourself. And the same with custom. That could be some logic that you want to write. It could be anything. So you would have had to have done all of that work yourself or just rely on emails. So now we've got this feature called integrations where I've got a Google Sheet here, but if we click new quickly, just give it a name, you pick your trigger. At the moment, there's only admin item update, but we'll update it to work the same way as all of the other types. So admin item create, update, delete, and front end if applicable. So on a blog, for example, if somebody created a blog post front end, you could run an action. And then the actions are a whole range of different apps you can connect to. So Google Sheets is the one I'm looking at, but you might want to send something to HubSpot, might be social media, might be MailChimp for people signing up to a form, all sorts of things really. And as I know a few of you guys have done, DJ, I know you've put one up there already, but we have a new area of the roadmap. Let me just pull it up. I think it's this one. Called integrations on the roadmap, where you can request any new ones that you'd like. So DJ, you've noticed that there's a Zoom integration, but I think all you can do is create a meeting currently. Another action would be to invite somebody to a webinar. So just create it, people vote on it, and we partnered with a team called Rollout who handle the actual integration side of things to make sure that it's all single sign-on and everything. They can see this list, and we're working with them to talk about the priorities and what to add next. So if you said to us urgently, we need X feature tomorrow, X integration, we can't control that, unfortunately. So put them in here as soon as you possibly can, and we'll keep working on the sort of priorities with Rollout and getting them done, getting them rolled out. So yeah, so you would flick through this list, find the app that you're looking for. There's quite a decent amount already. Pick your action, but let's go back and have a look at the one I did earlier. So this is sending a blog post when it's updated to Google Sheets. I connected it up to my Google Sheets account, pick the spreadsheet I wanted to use. And at the moment I've got it set so that if an item is already in there as a row, then update it rather than add a new one. So I'm using column 1, which is the ID of the item. You can come down into here and choose all the different fields that appear in that web app or that module. I've chosen ID, and then I'm running off, I'm not showing that. Oh yeah, sorry, running off column 1 for that. So I won't make any changes just now. If we jump across to that sheet, you'll see in here that we've got, so these are the old ones that I'd done before I had put the ID into the field, but earlier on we were working on item 42, and now we've just done the French article about WordPress with item 43. So if we just jump back and go to blog again, go into blog post 2, which is item 43, ID 43, and make another change. Let's make a change to, let's just see what fields we've got. That looks like the description field. And click save. Jump back quick enough. I think I'm using the wrong field, aren't I? It's subtitle. Let's quickly change that. And save that one there. That's now come across and filled in that field. So rather than it creating a new row each time, which it was doing up here, we're now making sure that it updates the existing row based on an ID. So there's so much you can already do to control it.
Yeah, it's pretty fast too.
It's within a couple of seconds every time that I've tested. Yeah. So as we were talking about earlier, there's just so much you can do with this. We don't even really know what you might want to do with it immediately. So just we'll release it into production in the next few days, I hope, and that gives you a chance to start really testing it out. I would still run it on trial sites to start with until you're really familiar with it. And then, yeah, just let us know. There's obviously a lot more that we can add. So Devon mentioned things like filtering and multi-step processes. We can look at adding all of those kind of features in. It's just, this is the starting point, really, tip of the iceberg of what we can do with it. So we definitely need feedback and input on getting the most from it.
Is there a
any
channel by
questions?
which we can know what's been updated? You know, like according to the roadmap, if we're asking for a specific integration feature, is there some place that we can check on the status of that, or would it be the same page, or just ping you guys, or what?
If it's an integration, like this is our roadmap, so if it's an integration, definitely put it in here. comment in here and come back and get updates. As long as you're either, if you created it or if you voted on it, you would get updates. So you'll see that I've responded to Amal's questions on here. So we can discuss integrations and ideas on integrations within here, and you'd also get updates. If you're generally just asking about like the back end, sort of the UI and everything, then probably we'll have an area in Discord for that. Probably in the I think we have an integrations channel, or I'll make sure that we have an appropriate channel for discussing this kind of stuff. So yeah, please do fire anything across. Any immediate feedback, anything that jumps out that you'd love it to do?
Just have to look at the options. That big list of options look pretty cool.
Yeah, I think what was I gonna say?
Dropbox.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Facebook.
Yeah, for social media, I think it's pretty useful.
All right.
Bookface.
Bookface.
I think anything like CRM. Oh, sorry. One thing to mention is it's not yet working on. So we literally set it up as a proof of concept while it was in the beta phase, and it only works on modules and web apps currently. But we will expand it to work on anywhere you'd see automations, so forms, products, those kind of things. And as I say, you'll get all of the triggers as well. Somebody also asked earlier whether it can work the other way around, whether Siteglide can be the action rather than the trigger. It can. We just haven't. Again, we haven't done that yet. So we'd love it for you to be able to bring data into Siteglide from, say, I don't know, all sorts of things really. Any kind of tools, Google Sheets, even you might use it to bring data in. But yeah, just the starting point.
So it can go. Obviously, it goes both ways. It's the API, but so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively the idea here is that we help replace Zapier, whether you do and whether it'll do enough to do that, I don't know. It depends on your use case of Zapier. But if you're doing fairly simple things with these kind of apps, then it's just nice to not have to mean that you have to set up a whole Zapier account for every client. There'll probably still be clients who have like very complex workflows that might keep it, but our aim is to help you replace it.
Cool.
Pretty fantastic.
I think there'll be things
is the push to sort of recreate a Zapier integration solution the result of the problems, with the reconnect? Were you guys not able to figure that out, or it was too complex to deal with that, so you guys just decided to create your own integration solution? Or
we had already planned to do this. We started this a year or so ago and had to put it on hold to do other things. But no, we'll still finish Zapier onto the new. So rebuilding the API was the solution basically to the Zapier problems. We will release the same experience you've currently got with Zapier on the new API ASAP, and you continue using that. So we're not trying to force you down this road. We just think it's overall and long term a much nicer experience to have it all within the product, or at least that as an option.
Yeah.
I think there will be things also that you can do with this that you probably couldn't do with Zapier. So because it sits in automations, which sits directly on the database effectively, you've got a lot more control over what's happening. So I think Steve mentioned it in this morning's call, like what about, could it be based on not a trigger, but based on something like a blog post expiring or something like that, or something time-based? So because cron jobs, yeah, exactly. So there'll be all sorts of things related to Siteglide and related to the data and the fields and everything and the logic that you might then want to run automations based on. And to do that in Zapier, you would have to effectively replicate the same kind of logic. You'd have to do all your filtering and everything probably in a more complex way. So we're pretty hopeful that you'll be able to do some pretty powerful things just within
I mean,
the
one
web
thing
app
that comes
itself.
to mind for me as far as that goes is the automatic triggering of an email reminder for annual subscribers. You know, like people who come to the website to buy an annual membership, you know, if the system, based on the date that they sign up on, if a you know, an automated email could be sent to them 1 year later, reminding them, hey, your annual subscription is about to renew, you know,
Yep.
yada yada yada, or something like along those lines, I think is obviously very powerful too. I have a need for that, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we talked about this one as to whether you could do it with the old automations feature, where effectively use the trigger conditions or something. But yeah, the new way, you'd be able to potentially look at sending it to a tool that handles cron jobs essentially, or handles delayed messaging. So yeah, it just opens up a lot of opportunities on that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
There's also
that's
actually
good.
open AI in here as well, so you might want to do things related to AI based on the web app. So yeah, just be creating a chat. But like I say, I have no idea what we can even actually do with it right now. I think we need people using it and getting some feedback.
Give it to Josh. Josh will figure out some miracles.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation about whether maybe this, I'm probably going too far with it, but whether you could use any of this as part of a like a front end workflow or something like that, or users on the site. But I haven't. My brain can't work that one out yet. But I just think there's a whole load of opportunities for integrations and automations.
Yeah,
Cool.
looks
Okay.
cool.
I'm conscious of everybody's time. We did overrun a bit earlier, so just jumping back to here. Did anybody have any more questions on either the AI tool or automations integrations? We will let you know as soon as that's out in production. It was meant to be for this meeting, but we'd rather get it right, so we're days away, a few days away, I would have thought, from getting that released. And the API is a little bit further behind. It's done, well, it's basically there, it's built, and we're running off it, but we just need to do a little bit more work to make sure it's fully ready and documented and everything. Good. So speaking of documented, the new docs. This has been a personal project that's been quite hard work over the summer, but it's good to get it done. I was determined to have something a bit better. So obviously it will need continual work. We will keep improving it, but the starting point, the kind of way to navigate, the style in which we're going, hopefully is a big improvement. So whether you're a new user and you want to quickly work out how to get started with one of our templates maybe, or whether you're an existing user looking at doing a specific thing and want a sort of quick start guide, we've kind of come up with these concepts of just how to get it done quickly and then delve into the detail if you want to. So a good example I mentioned earlier was the CLI. It used to be a very long-winded document with videos and stuff. Now it's just a lot simpler to get started and obviously jump into troubleshooting or Tailwind setup, or whatever it might be, if you need to. And on the left hand side, it's the same kind of familiar layout, hopefully, in terms of you've got all the portal elements that you would expect, then developer tools, and then standard stuff like, well, we've got site builder as well, but then it goes into sort of the left hand side menu. So all the CMS features, modules, web apps, e-commerce, CRM, those kind of things, all in order as you would expect. There's definitely a lot more that we need to do within those areas, especially things like e-commerce need quite a bit more work, but we've consolidated it into one, and hopefully you can see the direction we're going in. We definitely need feedback and maybe a bit of help if we haven't got it right everywhere. Any questions on docs?
So is this the new place that we should go from now on?
Yep. So if you go to, seeing if I've got them open, if you go to help.siteglide, it'll tell you to go to docs, and if you go to developers, it'll tell you the same thing. So it's hard to miss.
Okay.
Obviously, if you end up on a specific page on the old ones, we've left those running so that you can actually still see them, just in case the new versions aren't quite there yet. But very soon we'll hopefully replace these messages with a redirect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably most of the things to mention on docs. Matt, did you want to mention anything?
I don't think so. I think you've covered it.
Cool. Sorry, just one thing to clarify. There were 4 docs sites that we had before. The help.siteglide, which was more sort of simple UI admin stuff. Developers.siteglide, which was obviously the developers. Then Site Builder docs, which was under Site Gurus, and then the API docs. They will the first 3 are all in here, and the API will soon appear under this left-hand side as well. It's all in there. We just need to tweak it and finish it off before it goes live. So you should find that you only go to one place.
Yeah, it's connected with the fact that we're moving the API to the site, and the new docs will show the site version of the API, I believe, which is kind of, we're trying to keep it as close to the old one as possible, but where it obviously needs an improvement, we are, I think, going to be improving it instead of keeping it the same. So hopefully it'll be easier to use. So maybe we need to have docs for both. I don't know, Luke, both versions, but we'll see in the next short amount of time as we try and get that out.
I don't think we'll move the old ones here. Basically, the old docs are like a swagger way to use it. So it's not actually full docs anyway. So this will keep live. It'll just sit there because that's all we have at the moment anyway. But the new docs will have proper API documentation. And within that, it's actually got a feature where you can test it out there and then, a little bit like we have on the old one. There's a really nice little feature you can sort of run the API within the docs. Yeah. Good. I think one more thing, and then I'll stop talking for a bit and let you guys jump in. So Site Builder, there's one big-ish thing to mention, and then basically just let you know that there's been lots of updates. If you're not really using it, I do think we're at a point where I really recommend having another look, because it's extremely powerful, and I've always wanted to question why shouldn't you use it? Why wouldn't you start there? Obviously, if you're using a template from Theme Forest or something and you're just customizing that a little bit, I get it. I do understand why you would start with that. But otherwise, this is a really quick and good way to get up and running with functionality as well as design and layout. So we've really expanded this. Authors and teams is a new section in the last few weeks. We show the updates in the channel in Discord. There's a Site Builder channel. Categories is a completely new one as well. So not just for e-commerce, but really useful for e-commerce. And yeah, we'll keep adding more and more layouts. There's quite a bit more coming on the e-commerce side of things very, very soon. But there's some really nice functionality with our live updates API. If you've not seen it, it's really, really sort of best practice of how to go about certain features. And one actual feature I wanted to show quickly. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, just trying to find the right bit here, is we have something called preview mode. So I don't know if people have sort of hit this when working with Tailwind specifically, but the great thing about Tailwind is it compiles down and gets rid of the CSS you don't need. The challenge with that is that you have to counter the fact that sometimes you don't have any CSS for adding new sections in. So taking Studio as an example, just put it back on. Okay, that's fine. So this here is a Flowbyte Pro layout, and you might find that some of the styles of sections don't load correctly sometimes because some of those classes are missing. So I'll try and show you a proper demo of it in a second, but I've already got it turned on. So let's do that actually very quickly. If we go to the template, this is how it used to be until last week. So if I set, you can just set, it's in the docs, if you set the template build method to CLI, then it's relying on you to run the compiling via CLI. So you'd have to compile Tailwind every time you add new sections, because otherwise you might not have that CSS that you need. So if we now go back to the page, this was before the update, effectively. You'd find that that just looks a little bit broken. And if we view that page, it's not quite right. So if a customer's trying to add sections in, or you're adding sections in and just wanting to quickly get it looking right, then you do your styling and compile, it's a bit frustrating because things will look broken. So that's the great thing about the new feature. If you come back to templates and put it onto preview mode, so Tailwind template build method as preview, it's in the docs, but it's also a button, a setting in Site Builder, so you don't have to even type in any code. Turn that back on. What it's effectively doing is it's adding in the fallbacks and the necessary classes from the Flowbyte library that we know we have in these layouts effectively. So it's a fallback, and it's really, really useful for development. As sort of Matt explained it to me, the problem is bigger at the beginning, because when you don't have very many pages and many layouts, you don't have much CSS. So as you build out the site, you've got more and more CSS anyway. So what this fallback does is it just means you don't have to worry about that. Carry on building, and then when you're ready, compile it down, get the least amount of CSS that you need, and you get the best SEO results. Does that make sense for anybody that is interested in Site Builder and this feature?
I'm just curious why you would have the CLI. You were saying that, I mean, because the preview, the way it's shown right now, it's much more realistic. But are you saying that you would use the preview for the most part in your design, and then you'd go back and have to compile it with the CLI to complete it, or can you work with the preview on all the time and it's working with the CS? I mean, maybe it's including CSS that you don't use. Maybe that's what the
exactly
purpose of the compiling is.
Yeah, so I'd leave it on all the time throughout development if you don't love going into CLI and compiling all the time. So you can just leave it on, not worry about anything at all. I mean, the difference in speed and SEO, I guess, in terms of how much extra CSS you're loading is, I don't think you'd even notice it, but it's worth mentioning when trying to get top SEO and performance results. So when you come to go live, it would definitely make sense to just do one compile effectively and get rid of all the CSS you don't need.
I'd say, just to add to that, when we say like not noticeable, if you are developing, you wouldn't notice it because although there's extra CSS files, they would be cached in your browser. But Google would notice it because it measures the load on the very first time somebody comes to your site when things haven't been cached yet. So to get a better, so compiling and removing preview mode, going from what's effectively 3 CSS files down to 1, much smaller CSS file for production, will give you a better Google score. And it will also, when somebody hits your page for the first time, there's that case where sort of the research I think Google does says that if people are waiting more than 3 seconds the first time they come to your site, they might just leave and go to a different site. So it's trying to capture that initial page load, especially, even if while you're developing, the 3 CSS files don't really slow you down because you've already loaded them, you've already cached them. So it's trying to get a balance. But we definitely would recommend production. The other reason to do a CLI build, even while you've got preview mode on, is to get all your branding and all your styles in. Because these fallbacks that we're loading for preview mode, you can see all the spacing looks right, but you might still have the flow by colors. So if you do a CLI build with preview mode on, it will start to replace those colors with your brand colors and make things look exactly how they should do. But while you're developing, you might not need those colors straight away, so you might be able to do multiple changes and then do a CLI build to get the final look. But you might not need to rebuild CLI every time you change anything. So it reduces the work you've got to do. Hopefully that makes sense as well.
I think that makes sense.
We're not really, it's not really a Siteglide related thing. It's a CSS and Tailwind thing, really. So we're just following CSS rules of cascading. So as long as we put your ones last, then your ones will override everything else. So that's why if you change the colors in CLI, that would update and it would look how you want it to, whereas all the other stuff would be retained if you're not overriding it. So it's all pretty standard. We're just trying to get, Tailwind has its real strengths, but there's a challenge that we're just trying to overcome and make the development process just that little bit nicer.
In reality, when you do a Bootstrap site, often you end up with having the Bootstrap build in one CSS file and then a custom CSS file underneath with custom styles. That is not the way that you have to build it. Like Bootstrap recommends sometimes using Sass to compile just one file, but in reality, often that's the case. So in a way, this is analogous to that. It's just that if you're using Tailwind, it's a shame not to get the benefit of Tailwind, which is that really lean, fast, small file at the end. So it's trying to, so it's not that much different from what you might be used to in the past, but we're trying to make sure you get the convenience without losing the benefit of Tailwind and its speed, the tree shaking.
Yeah,
got it.
The one piece we haven't solved, to be quite open about it, is what if you've gone live and your client wants to build out pages using Studio and put new sections in, and you're on the CLI build.
You're reading my mind.
So we're going to work on that one still. I mean, obviously you could get them to use preview mode. You could have a separate template where for that page they apply preview mode, and then when they're done a week later or something, you do some work for them. That's not ideal. That's not the right solution. Where we're probably going, and another roadmap request from this morning, was sort of draft and publish modes in Siteglide, being able to like have pages that are in draft and then in publish. If we did that, we could effectively have preview on in draft, and then on publish, ideally, we would automatically compile and get rid of the unnecessary CSS. It would be great. It's obviously quite a bit of work as a feature to build, draft and publish. We definitely want to go there anyway, just not sure when. And the other question is, how much computing power does it require to compile every time somebody publishes? And we're going to have to kind of work that one out. But that's probably the best solution. We'll keep you posted on interim solutions, I guess. But I do think having a workflow with the customer is probably quite realistic in the short term. I think getting them to work with a preview template can work really, really well. It's just, you don't want to be having to go in there every time they do something and compiling for them. I think that's the bit that we need to work on, whether we have a way for them to switch back and it compiles, or we'll look into a realistic
I mean, it's
solution.
a rare, I think it'd be kind of rare, but because most of what my clients are doing is they're using like a web app or something like that to input the data, and that they're not building a page necessarily from scratch.
Yeah.
But they would love that capability. I've got a couple that like to do that, but I can just see where there could be issues with that, and I could just go behind them and compile it after they're something like that. That wouldn't be a big game changer for them.
I think that's probably the positive way to look at it now. Is there is a way now where clients can easily build out pages and not have to worry about Tailwind and CSS and all that kind of stuff. You're just going to lose
Right.
that little performance edge, and it's up to you whether you want to, how quickly you want to clean up after them, I guess.
The
Yeah.
other way of doing it, the other way around, is to sort of build them a couple of different pages, and when they like S10, not well, some like pages that they can then take a copy
Design it.
of. Yeah, basically
Yeah.
design them a couple of different structures, and then and then they create a copy of that, and that takes a
Right.
tiny bit of discipline to do, and then they fill out the content using Studio, but don't add new blocks. They just use the blocks you've done, and then you've already built
Yeah.
the Tailwind CSS for those particular blocks. So those will just look right out of the box, all branded, all ready to go. That's the other way around, but I don't know about them copying them. That's not a smooth. Um, you might find that they use your master copy and edit it directly, and you've lost it.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Tailwind also does have a safe list, so if you wanted to, you could
Mm.
add. If you knew that there were some obvious culprits that kept coming up, you could add to the safe list. That's another option as well. So there's
Okay.
lots of ways to solve the problem. I feel like we're probably going into more depth than maybe
Yeah.
or maybe you'd like how much you plan to use it, but it's preview mode is a really helpful tool now. I think to get the most out of Site Builder at least. And yes,
Nice.
do check out some of the new layouts and updates that we'll keep releasing. It should be I mean, we're finding it's a huge time saver on projects. You're just not having to build the functionality. If you do start from Figma, then you're massively saving time in terms of the design to development to functionality workflow. It's just so much quicker. But anyway, I'll leave it there on Site Builder. Although Helen, you've asked in the chat, partner studio layouts that dropped into Studio would make sure CS
You
is
wants to
in
move it now.
place.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a good point actually. So you could run your
Okay.
own layout library and ensure that that CSS is in place. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Right.
if it's based on Tailwind, you probably still have the same situation, because you until you've dragged it into your site, it's not in your site, and Tailwind will not add the classes for things that you haven't put in your site yet. But that's a good thing, because it means the CSS file is really small. You also from Google don't get that unused CSS slap on the wrist, because all the CSS is used. But that does remind us that we do have a Bootstrap theme, and you can sort of add partner studio layouts from a different theme completely, in which case you don't need that, might be more client friendly, ready built. Or you could take our layouts, put them as your own partner layouts, and then you could sort of curate a couple that were ready built and ready CSS compiled. So you could tell them to pick from this list that we've already compiled, and not the full list. That might be another way to do it.
Yeah, lots of ways and different workflows for depending on how you want to do it.
Yeah, if you do have a particular client with a particular use case, maybe just ask us how would you approach this, and we can maybe put together a short-term plan while we build our preview and publish feature in the future.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
I'll jump on to the next one. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to talk about. I know time's getting on, but any thoughts on the WordPress side of things, or we can jump on to anything else?
Yeah, I gotta leave, but I would love to bash WordPress. I hate WordPress, but I heard somebody told me that it sounds like it's worse than what Adobe did to Business Catalyst. So
I saw
because
Brent
I guess
Weaver wrote a post about it being the same, if not worse, which did surprise me. But yeah, I think
yeah,
it's huge. Yeah.
because I didn't realize it broke a bunch of websites. So I
Mm,
just I heard they were having some battle or something, but that's not cool.
no.
Anyway,
No,
I do
exactly.
have to fly though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wonder what the
Yeah.
intent is there, or what the, what the issue is. Why cut it off? Was there a security issue that they thought they were protecting WordPress from or something? I mean, it's like, what's the thought
No, so
process here for doing this?
I'm definitely not the expert on this topic, but from what I understand, WP Engine were not contributing back to the community. So they weren't working in the sort of open source way that WordPress would like them to. And really, the CEO of Automatic, who's basically in charge of WordPress, which is the revelation that people are not liking, decided that he didn't like that and decided to ban them from being able to access certain things. Which is a lot of power for one person to have in an open source community, basically. I think that's the thing that people have the most issue with.
Yeah, right. Where's
If I've
his
got that
board of
wrong,
advisors or
apologies.
whatever that he's supposed to be, kind of sort of, or his team, is his team behind him on this, or was this just his own decision, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, WP
yeah.
Engine was promoting themselves as being the best WordPress platform out there for hosting. And we've used them in the past for a couple of websites. And I thought it worked very well because I'm not in love with WordPress anyway, but it did help us get along with these couple of sites, some of them which we inherited, and we just took it over because we wanted to work with those clients. And it was great. They were very helpful. They had a good support team. They had some tools that were very helpful because, of course, it was WordPress. It was hacked, and we were able to get the sites back in about 30 minutes, which I thought was quite good. But I'm surprised that they're taking, there's this big rift going on, and it's just going to severely damage WP Engine.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. I'm just really so shocked to hear this.
I
So
know.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be huge, and everybody's gonna be leaving there because whatever the rift is, it's gonna impact a lot of businesses. So there could be opportunity to just move to something else.
Yeah, I saw a few people talking about like what they would do and where they would move. I didn't realize it got that serious until a few days ago. I think there was one other comment about WP Engine that they impose their own limits on WordPress and like what you're able to do with it. So I think a few people were a little bit unhappy about like the decisions they were making on something that should be open source. But yeah, there's a lot to it, I think.
Well, I guess if we do some good marketing, we might be able to pick up a few new clients.
Snag him, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I thought I'd mention it because you just might find you hear of more customers going, look, I'm really stuck, and I think it's helpful to have the backstory of why. But yeah,
I'm gonna research that.
Anyway, I gotta
later.
fly, but
yeah. Sorry, Michael.
thanks, everyone.
No worries.
No
Good to see
problem.
you.
Have a good week,
I just
Michael.
had to get in and beat up WordPress. I love to beat up
Yeah.
WordPress. Anyway, bye.
Sorry, we didn't have longer on it.
Bye.
Bye. Cool. Over to you guys. I appreciate everybody's time. So, any questions? Obviously, it's been a few months since we've met. So, sorry. One more thing I wanted to say is that we plan to run a workshop on Site Builder specifically in the coming weeks. And we plan to make these kind of workshops a little bit more regular. We keep saying that it hasn't always happened, and I guess we just need a little bit more input, but we probably also need to get started. So I think we will launch one pretty soon. I've spoken to quite a few different people trying to build out sites or portals or whatever it might be, and I think a bit of us getting involved and everybody collaborating could be good. So watch this space for that one. But apologies, over to you guys.
Yeah, I would be interested in that, or at least a video walkthrough of, end to end on the workflow process. Start fresh
something we're
and
definitely
then
going to do.
end up with an end result, to kind of see what that process looks like. And depending on what I find there, I might be interested in contributing the alternative myself, just as a comparison.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think we've got a great formula, and I don't think we've made it quite obvious enough. So yeah, I want to be putting together a sort of end-to-end tutorial on the new docs. We'd like an area for these kind of more specialist kind of guides and tutorials, and then obviously take it from there and do roadmaps. Workshops if they're beneficial.
I have two questions.
Sure.
First, what's the news about using dynamic content in Site Builder? That would be the first question. The second question would be, can I use my own frameworks? I think the answer is yes. I think that's the answer, right? I can use my own frameworks. I don't have to go the Tailwind road, which sounds really nice, but not at the moment. So I would like to use my own templates. That's a yes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll just send you to the section of extend Site Builder. You'd have to add your own theme and layouts into Site Builder, but yes, you can.
Great. So the thing with the dynamic content, I think that was like talked about that you guys want to enhance Site Builder, so I can basically put in layouts and set, for instance, pull content from a module, from a web app, and then like set the filter or set the properties which I want to filter and stuff like that. Is that right?
I think you're talking maybe about Studio. So Site Builder
yeah.
in the
Right, guys. Studio, exactly.
Yeah. So in just to clarify, in Site Builder, you can most definitely create dynamic layouts. In fact, that's all it's for, really, is building your dynamic layouts. In Studio, yeah, at the moment on the right-hand side, all you can insert is static. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't enable you to add in the dynamic layouts you've just created. What have I done template-wise here? We could add the dynamic layouts into here as well that you've already created.
Yeah.
All it's really going to do, apologies, that hasn't, just try and reload this quickly. All it's going to do is effectively drop in some, currently it would drop in a liquid include like that. Obviously, the next job that we want to do is render dynamic includes in Studio and be able to edit the content with them in them, a bit like you can in something like Webflow.
Okay, great. So this is still on the roadmap then?
It is, but I think if there was a real sort of positive feedback on getting dynamic layouts into the right-hand side, that's something that we could do relatively quickly, I would have thought.
It kind of depends like who it's for. Because I guess if your clients need it, then there's a bit more urgency. Whereas if
I mean, this is already great. I mean, it's working. The scenario is basically like my client, e-commerce client, would like to build a dedicated landing page for a product, right? And they would like to, like, let's say, write a paragraph about like certain aspects of the product and then just choose some of the products to be listed out in the list layouts, in the particular list layouts underneath, then another chapter of a different product and stuff like that. So a very granular way to build landing pages for someone who doesn't, I would not want to do coding. If that drops includes, that's already great because I can tell the client, look, this is what it's doing. And then you will have this term there. Don't do anything with it, but it works, right? But you can do that. That's already great. It would, of course, be better if it would render a preview or something like that, be a bit more so the client doesn't see any code, but that's already good, right? Just
I think you'll now see our dilemma and where we are currently, because we effectively have almost what you've described within Site Builder, not within Studio. So within Site Builder, we've got something called Page Builder, and this is where we need to kind of consolidate what we're going to do, where you can create a page and effectively you can pick between static layouts and flick through the different available static layouts, and then also dynamic layouts. You'd be able to add in testimonials, let's say. So that's a no-code building tool that I think clients would get on with very, very well. The problem with it is it's a one-off. You build it, and then to edit it, you've got to go into Studio effectively. So I think we probably need some feedback and to make a decision on which way we go. Like, should it be more prescriptive building like this, where you have to do it a set way, or should it be more sort of Studio Webflow designer focus? and should it be both?
But inside Builder, when I build a page like that, can I edit it afterwards, or it's a one-off thing?
In Site Builder, no. Again, we could
One-off thing,
take
yeah.
that further, but you would build it and then you would go to Studio and
Got
edit
it. Got it. Okay, yeah, got it.
It's just it's clunky at the moment, and we need to work out what to do where, I think.
The background is that I am in the process of writing down the scope for that particular e-commerce project. And it's good to know what's already there and what might be there in the future. But for me, this kind of being able to build a landing page for the client, that's already there one way or the other. So
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, this is actually really powerful. So like if you were doing an e-commerce landing page, you can pick dynamic, pick product list, and then you can even customize some of the functionality of how to output it. So we've got a lot of the features and the tools. I think the main frustration is that one of the ways of doing it is hidden away in modules, and one is under CMS pages. And it might be a case of if we put Page Builder as another tab within a page, potentially that would be, oh no, you couldn't put it within a page, could you? But maybe if it was an option here of create via Page Builder, maybe those kind of things would help. But I think we probably need to get some more feedback on which direction to go, and take it from there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Bye,
Okay.
Helen.
Yeah. Thanks, Helen. Good to see you soon. Any other questions from anybody? I appreciate you probably want to get on with your day or evening. I'll stop sharing. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. Been great to show off what we've been working on, and we'll let you know as soon as it's released and keep you updated on the rest of the roadmap.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Good.
Thanks for the meeting, Luke. It's
No
nice
worries.
seeing you
Thanks,
again.
everyone. Yeah, good to catch up. It's
The
been a little
next
while.
one in November, or when you plan it?
Yeah, we'll go back to
Monthly.
doing them
Okay.
unless we switch to doing a workshop style in between. I think we'll try and continue to do them monthly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.